Cities across the US and Europe, many of which rarely experience fog, are now blanketed in thick, eerie mists that refuse to lift, even during daylight hours. While the media scrambles to dismiss it as a mere coincidence, let's be clear, this is no ordinary weather event. The particulate-laden fog doesn't just obscure your view, it smells of chemicals, and it's making people sick with symptoms they've never experienced before. Researchers armed with hydrometers and air quality monitors have taken samples, and the results are nothing short of alarming. What is this fog? Where is it coming from? And most importantly, why is it making people so ill? Stay tuned as we shine a light in the darkness and uncover what is one of the most heinous crimes against humanity of our time. Fog typically forms when the air temperature and the dew point are less than 2.5 degrees Celsius apart, usually with humidity near 100%. It can happen when moisture is added to the air or when the temperature drops. In most of the cities experiencing this mysterious fog, from Florida, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Texas, California, and many cities across Europe, the conditions are completely different from what's needed to produce fog naturally.
Like, this is fucked up. It smells. Can't see shit.
What's even stranger is that this fog doesn't look, smell, or feel like typical fog. Instead, it's heavy and packed with particulates, unlike anything we've ever seen before, as this video from Augustine, Florida reveals.
A flashlight for Christmas, and this will give you a good look. You can't see the fog here, but check this out. So it's just like mist particles, but you cannot see that with a light out. Like, what the hell is this?
If you think this strange, unprecedented fog showing up everywhere at the same time is just a coincidence, then you probably believe that war is peace, mRNA vaccines are safe and effective, and Biden is as sharp as a tack. In Daytona Beach, conditions are nothing like those required for fog, and the locals have never seen anything like this chemical cloud that's blanketing the population centre and refusing to disappear even during the day. Making things even more suspicious, videos of the fog have suddenly been taken down. Over the past 2 days, there have been several reports, from both overseas and across the US, but now those videos have disappeared from search results. Into this void of censorship, some citizen journalists have stepped up to analyse the fog that's causing sickness, since the mainstream media refuses to do their job and report on what's really affecting everyday people.
Okay, so I have been going through the comment section trying to catch up on all the comments about the fog and the symptoms. And here are the states, the majority of the states that were in the comments that are saying that they have fog and symptoms that are accompanied. And then I will go through the symptoms. So the states that so far that I have seen commenting the most are Oregon, Minnesota, Texas, St. Louis, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Vermont, New Hampshire, Washington, Arizona, Idaho, Illinois, Maine, Georgia, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Wisconsin. The UK has actually been commenting. Kansas, England, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, Mississippi, Arkansas, Cali, North Carolina, Ohio, Michigan, Colorado, Utah, Nebraska. And there was more than that. But this does appear to be coast-to-coast fog. But here are the symptoms that so far everybody's talking about. We're having a loss of appetite, with a lot of people losing weight unexplained. Can't sleep at night. You feel really tired throughout the day because you're not sleeping at night, but all night you're just tossing and turning, having weird dreams. There's a really bad dry cough, but also congestion, which is weird because I've been congested, but I have a really dry cough, so it's very interesting. Extremely irritable. Some people are experiencing anemic problems. People are experiencing gut problems, stomach aches, diarrhea, nausea. I had some people commenting that they have jaw pain or headaches or both. There's just so many symptoms that are coming along. And the only thing that we all have in common from coast to coast is the fog. And then obviously a lot of us tap water, but that isn't necessarily going to be the same in every state. So the only thing I can associate all of this with is the fog.
The elite can continue deleting videos, but they cannot stop the tidal wave of reports about the fog, saying that it smells terrible, their eyes and throats hurt, and they're dealing with terrible headaches and sinus problems.
Looks like it's conclusive. FogVid 24 is a real thing. The previous video's going viral. If you go and read the comment section, everybody's saying they were completely fine, they didn't feel anything coming on, but then as soon as they went out in this fog, whatever it is, they got a sore throat, they had to go to bed, they couldn't sleep, they were bunged up, they had migraines, they lost all their energy, and not only them, everyone in the household. There's mums reporting on it saying all the kids are ill, we've got people in Kentucky, we've got people in Sweden, we've got people in Finland, all reporting the same thing. The fog has made them sick. And you know, it's scenarios like this that always have an adverse effect. Whatever they're doing in the skies, whatever they're spraying, whatever this fog is, they're obviously doing it for a reason, but it is going to wake people up. People have had enough. They're sick of being poked, they're sick of being prodded, they're sick of poison in the air and poison in the food, poison in the milk, poison in the mind. We're being pummeled in more ways we can imagine to demoralise us over a period of time, so when things get to a critical point and everyone's screaming out for a saviour, the government's going to be there, but they were the ones that created the problem in the first place.
Symptoms such as these are no surprise when you learn about the contents of the fog. Laboratories on both sides of the Atlantic are confirming the mysterious fog contains a consistent toxic cocktail of chemicals, including barium, strontium, both carcinogens, and aluminium oxide, pathogens, and uranium. Even more disturbingly, graphene oxide, known for its bioactive effects, has been detected. If you're up to speed with the chemtrails conspiracy, you'll recognise that many of the toxic chemicals found in this fog are the same ones discovered in large cities after heavy chemtrail spraying. So, what's going on here? We need to rewind to 1999, when a document titled the Air Force 2025 report was published. While the original document has since been removed, you can still find it on the Wayback Machine. In the 25-year-old report, the US Air Force discusses how tiny nanoparticles can be dispersed through fog, making them nearly undetectable. The document also explains that smart materials based on nanotechnology can steer themselves within the fog, and outlines both defensive and offensive reasons the government might intentionally release fog in population centres. This is the text directly from the document, admitting that UAVs, or unmanned aerial vehicles, the old name for drones, will be able to deliver the chemical fog to population centres. This text is directly from the document. They will be able to provide immediate and continuous effectiveness feedback by integrating with the larger sensor network, and can also change their temperature and polarity to improve their seeding effects. As mentioned above, UAVs could be used to deliver and distribute these smart materials. Remember, this report was written back in 1999, predicting what the US Air Force knew was planned to happen in 2025. Now, right on cue, as we enter 2025, we're seeing this mysterious global fog packed with nanoparticles spreading across the US and Europe. The timing is nothing short of extraordinary. The big question is, why now? And what is really behind this? The elite have been planning for decades to disperse vaccines, pathogens, and mind control substances through fog and smart dust. It might sound like a wild conspiracy, but the evidence to back this up is undeniable. In 2018, Julian Assange warned us about intelligence agencies that had research prototypes to develop what he called intelligent evil dusts, which they planned to scatter around everything like confetti, as part of their surveillance and control architecture.
There's research prototypes now, which I assume are being used by intelligence agencies, of very small electronic circuits that you can just put in paper or put and paint or on the walls that are powered by the GSM stations. And they operate as the GSM radio wave passes through them. It gives them enough power for a very small amount of time to do things. So obviously that tendency is going to continue. It's not like the Internet of Things. It's if you like, intelligent evil dust scattered everywhere, like confetti in everything. So I think it's increasingly hard for human beings to work out how to deal with that.
To understand what is happening, we need to talk about the PrEP Act. This little-known law, tucked away under 42 US Code 247D6D, gives the government jaw-dropping powers during public health emergencies. We're talking about the authority to roll out drugs, devices, and biological products to entire populations without you even knowing about it, let alone giving your consent. It was signed into law by President George W. Bush on December 30th, 2005, and was quietly slipped into the Department of Defense Appropriations Bill HR 2863. While it was originally pitched as a way to prepare for biological threats, it left plenty of folks asking some big questions about accountability and transparency. Who's watching the watchers? Now, let's talk about Dr. Anthony Fauci. Remember that Air Force document from 1999, acknowledging that by 2025, nanotechnology would be spread through fog that's dispersed by drones. Now, consider how extraordinary this is, especially in light of the leaked documents we've seen this week about Dr. Anthony Fauci. The connections are starting to look far from coincidental. The leaked 2018 document sheds new light on Fauci's plans to covertly spray self-spreading vaccines and mind control tech over large population centres, using cutting-edge biotechnology and, wait for it, military-grade drones. Document, codenamed Diffuse, was submitted by Fauci's EcoHealth Alliance to DARPA. It outlined plans to deploy aerosolized immune modulators, chimeric spike proteins, and self-spreading vaccines over vast human populations using drones. The Diffuse proposal explicitly mentions the use of aerosol delivery systems to inoculate both animals and humans over large areas, which is exactly what's happening now, according to a chemtrails pilot whistleblower, who's gone into great detail on this channel, outlining the techniques and overarching agenda of the criminal operations. But the fog is even more disturbing, according to the pilot, who warns that it appears to be chemtrails on steroids, a new generation of threat that's being rolled out before our eyes. Dr. James Giordano has openly discussed how he and his colleagues at NATO's medical branches have been exploring the development of nanoparticulate smart dust, tiny particles engineered to target human physiology. Alarmingly, he describes how these particles can be deployed in a scatter arrangement, dispersing them over an area with devastating precision to trigger health crises, including stroke epidemics.
Moreover, you heard earlier about the idea of nanoparticulate matter that can be utilized in a weaponizable way. And here too, we're looking very, very strongly at what nanoparticulate matter can do to the nervous system. Some ongoing studies with our colleagues in the medical branches of NATO have in fact shown that the use of nanoparticulate matter in a scatter arrangement can be used to incur what looks to be broad-scale epidemiological stroke epidemics. So what we're able to do here is infiltrate the brain space with nanoparticulate matter that aggregates in situ, on site in the brain, and does one of two things. Either penetrates from the vascular space, gets in through the bloodstream, gets in through the nose, through the mucosa, or infiltrates the vascular space and clogs it. What is the result? What's called a nanoparticulate stroke, or a hemorrhagic diathesis, fancy word, for it's a predisposition to individuals having brain bleeds. Demonstrated? Oh, absolutely. We're able to show animal models of same, and the Italian group has done a fair amount of work demonstrating that nanoparticulate matter can be highly disruptive, not only of brain vascularity, but brain function. You may not necessarily incur a stroke, but you're going to begin to disrupt the network properties of the brain, and as a result, engage something more of a long wars effect through the use of these types of matters, where you now begin to influence the population in increasingly concentric circles of expansion.
Dr. Giordano goes on to explain how an Italian research and technology group has conducted extensive studies, proving how effective this technology is in animal models. While it might not always cause an immediate stroke, he warns that it can gradually disrupt brain processes and properties. Over time, this disruption can lead to what he calls long wars effects, where their technology influences behavior across a population, expanding its reach in increasingly larger circles. Let's be clear about what he's describing: mind control, behavioral modification, and depopulation on a massive scale. Nanoparticulate matter, just like what's being found in the mysterious fog that's stretching across the US and Europe, is a major focus of Dr. James Giordano and DARPA's mind control projects. Here he is boasting about the progress they've made.
Accessing the brain, not crudely, but ever more creatively. Utilizing other forms of technology and engineering, such as nanoparticulate matter that we can then create into sensors and transmitters that can be inhaled, ingested, rubbed on, that can then be migrated into the brain to form vast arrays of sensors and transmitters to be able to read information from the living brain and write information into the living brain in real time remotely. This is a current project of the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency here in the United States called N-Cubed, Next Generation Non-Invasive Neuromodulation. Now that we can transmit into the living brain remotely through the cloud. If in fact we're using the cloud that way, now we're harnessing, if you will, the cybersphere to be able to access the cerebrosphere of individuals, of groups, of collectives. If in fact that same technology that allows us to literally read the mind by scanning and interpreting the data we get from the structures and functions of the brain. And the inverse of that is that we can then write into the living brain that's mind control.
Welcome to 2025.
Przypominamy, że na naszym kanale nie ma płatnych reklam i jeżeli uważasz, że robimy coś wartościowego, to możesz wesprzeć naszą pracę poprzez datek dowolnej wartości. Możesz też nas wspomóc, odwiedzając sklep partnerski KILLUMINATI, który oferuje odzież, literaturę dla wszystkich przebudzonych. Jest to świetna forma wyjścia z przekazem poza internet. Linki znajdziesz pod filmem. Pozdrawiamy, KILLUMINATI Team.
Dodaj łapkę w górę i subskrybuj nasz kanał. Pozdrawiamy, KILLUMINATI Team.